Hello and welcome to Direct Approach with Wayne Moorhead, an exclusive podcast by DSN where Wayne shares candid and insightful conversations with leading corporate executives about today's evolving direct sales channel. In today's episode, we have not one, but two guests. Wayne is joined by Michele Gay, co-founder and chairwoman of LimeLife by Alcone, and Sarah Shadonix, founder and CEO of Scout Cellar. A few months ago, the DSN team became aware of a unique cross-company collaboration between these two founders and companies, and we had to learn more. On this episode, Michele and Sarah share how their friendship developed and how their willingness to be transparent with each other has become an essential element in their ability to achieve greater success as leaders and the cascade effect it has had on their entire organizations. Plus, they dive into the most recent collaboration that involved Michele's team doing a training with the Scout Cellar home office and field leaders. That's right, another company provided a training to the other's home office staff and group of field leaders because they wanted to help support the other. Michele and Sarah tell the story of how this training came to be and the transformative impact it's having across their organizations. This episode is a must listen, so please help me welcome your host, Wayne Moorhead, and today's guests, Michele Gay, co-founder and chairwoman of LimeLife by Alcone, and Sarah Shadonix, founder and CEO of Scout Cellar.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DSN's Direct Approach podcast. I am your host, Wayne Moorhead, and today is a very special episode. I'm fortunate to be joined by two very inspiring executive leaders to discuss community, collaboration, and the power of performance. Please let me introduce the co-founder and chairwoman of LimeLife by Alcone, Michele Gay, and founder and CEO of Scout Cellar, Sarah Shadonix. Thank you both so much for being here on Direct Approach.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Wayne.
So normally I jump in and ask people to talk about the path that led them in, but with both of you here, I'd love the audience and myself just to learn a little bit more about each of your companies. So can you take just a moment, Michele, can we start with you just to talk a little bit about LimeLife?
Sure. So we brought our family business to the direct sales channel in 2015. So rather than go through traditional retail, which we had plenty of contacts to do, because my company, my family business, Alcone, has been selling professional makeup for about 8 decades now. And we primarily work with professional makeup artists, but we wanted to bring that to the consumer. And I really, the more I thought about it, I was like, the direct sales model is the way to go. It just has so many benefits for women. And I just really wanted to do something that was going to have an impact on the economy, on women's lives, on communities. And this model just does that. So that's how we started, and that's who we are.
What an incredible heritage. That's great that it's grown out of a long time family business. That's really great. Sarah, do you mind sharing a little bit about Scout Cellar?
No, I'd love to. We're a little newer than Michele's company, but we're an older industry, the wine industry. I started the company in 2017, kind of with a similar mindset to Michele, which is, I think, one of the things that we share in common, which is, desire to disrupt and create opportunity. And with the mindset that this is kind of two principles. One, creating a better, different wine experience, which is the foundation for our clean crafted commitment, kind of going beyond organic and delivering a wine that is representative of the place that it's grown and that's better for families, better for you, and better for the planet. So that's what our clean crafted commitment is all about. And we communicate that with complete transparency in the form of ingredient labeling and our soil to sip reports, which is kind of like baby blockchain for wine. But then when, we chose direct sales because of who buys wine and why people buy wine. Women are the primary buyers of wine, and we buy wine based on 3 things: what our friends are drinking, the story behind the wine, and the And so based on those buying behaviors and based on the desire to create opportunity in an industry that's kind of slow to change and ripe for change, the direct sales space really made sense. And so that's why we chose direct selling for our channel. And it's been a really exciting almost 6 years now.
It's incredible. Yeah, you both have had such great success. And I do love that you selected direct selling in an attempt and approach to do it differently, to really have a chance to kind of stand out and innovate from other companies or brands that are in those categories. And I think direct selling definitely gives all of us that opportunity to kind of step in and do something a little bit differently. It's also interesting, I think, that you both initially met on another DSN podcast And can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what it was that helped to kind of foster an ongoing friendship and connection?
Can I go first, Michele?
Yeah.
Okay. So we met Wayne during a podcast. It was during COVID. So during the pandemic. And I remember like the first 2 or 3 things that Michele said, and I don't remember what she said, quite honestly, Michele, but whatever it is that she said, I thought, wow, this is a woman and a leader and a person that I have got to get to know, because she's awesome and transparent and authentic. And like, I love everything about how she's saying whatever it is that she's saying. And I've got to get to know her better. Like, she's awesome.
That is so nice.
I was so struck. Like, you were just like such a force. I love it.
Well, thank you. I mean, I was fangirling on Sarah and Scout Cellar for a while because I was reading about them and I'm like, wow, this is brilliant. This company is brilliant. And so it was great to be on that podcast because I met Sarah and, immediately we were just sort of like, okay, we're like normal people who really, we work hard, we have a mission, we have a purpose. And we really do care about this channel, about our sales field, about the impact we're having on the world and the environment, people's lives, all of that. So I was like, okay, she's exactly what I hoped she would be. And I think after the call, I was sort of like, hey guys, do you want to be friends?
You did. You sent an email and you proposed that. And I was so thrilled. It's like you picked us, like picked me in a game of Red Rover. It was awesome.
and Amelia Warren was on that as well. And we try to get together as often as possible, at least once a month, once a quarter. And we have what we call lip sips and dips, where the 3 of us talk to each other. It's been really fun. We laugh pretty much the whole time we're talking to each other. So
that is amazing. I love that you were able to connect and that friendship has been able to continue. I've listened to that podcast, so we'll put a link to that in the show notes. It is incredible. I honestly loved it. A lot of incredible insights there. So this kind of leads into a question. As Michele and Sarah, you both have experienced over the years, the CEO role can be a very lonely role. Just by the nature of the position in the organization, people are always looking for you to have the answers, to ask questions, and there's not always someone that you can turn to bounce ideas off of, to express concerns, to ask questions. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of having other peer, executives that you can reach out to for advice, for connection? Can you expand on that just a little bit?
Oh, it's embedded in your question, Wayne, but it's essential. And I think that's one of the most special things about our relationship is not only do we laugh, but we also, compare notes in a fully, I couldn't feel more safe and there's total trust and transparency in our relationship. And not only do we get together and talk, but also like if I've got a random question, if Michele has a random question, like we swap texts, we send emails, and like we get back to each other quickly. And that type of relationship, particularly shared in this direct selling space, is critical, not only for like success, but also sanity.
Right.
It's great. I'm so grateful for this relationship that we have. And it's fundamental.
It is. It's invaluable to me because we're able to problem solve a lot faster. And we have found that, when we start talking about an idea, someone else will chime in. Okay, well, we were thinking of doing it that way. And then literally in the span of a 15-minute conversation, we can take an idea that we thought was good to an idea that's actually great. And if you really care about this space, like if you care about women being part of the direct sales community, you understand the impact that can have on women's lives, it is essential for CEOs to collaborate more, because we can't just be in this isolated chambers by ourselves trying to figure it out when all these women depend on us. We have to be faster. Yep. So Sarah and I can do that in our conversations. And we also think that there's a lot of opportunities with our vendors to reduce costs on things when we're collaborating. So there's some great, creativity benefits, but there's also some real business benefits to us working together. And we're plotting big things in the future for that, for sure.
We are.
Absolutely. I love that. What is it, I'm curious, about direct selling? It always has been fairly collaborative. There's always been great forums and events like DSU or the CEO forum where execs can get together and kind of share openly, where in other channels, that's probably not as common to share openly and to strategize and to bounce ideas off each other. What do you feel like it is about direct selling that lends itself to collaboration?
I think it's exactly what Michele said. I think it's all about creating opportunity and empowering our sales force to win. And I think that's the overall channel's objective, is to create opportunity for others. And it's our job as the leaders of those organizations to do just that. And so I think that fosters a really unique sense of collaboration that's unique in the direct selling space. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why. Michele, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think when I think about a traditional business where the CEO is essentially working for the shareholders, they're working for the best distribution, best profitability, right? They don't want to share their secrets. They don't want to collaborate because that could actually hurt the essence of their objective. For us, it's our shareholders are our sales field. I mean, that's who we're working for. And so when we can come up with something that's going to elevate their experience and their opportunity, we've got to do that. So sharing ideas is absolutely essential.
I love that. I agree. I think I've seen that as well, where other channels or industries have seen competition. Direct selling has been fortunate that they've seen community and collaboration there. It's one of the things I've loved the most about it.
In the wine industry too, there's a little bit of that. And I think part of also the drive for collaboration and direct sales is we all want the channel to win. Like all of us leaders want the channel to win. We want to push the channel forward. So we want to link arms and create ideas together that can push the channel forward through innovation and growth. I think that's also true in the wine industry. I'm grateful to work in both those spaces because I think that also is true in that space. There's a lot of cross collaboration in that space as well, where people band together to push that channel forward collectively as well. And that's unique in both of those spaces. I think for that shared reason, which I think is unique, but for a similar purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we do all realize that we're all in it together. And what's good for one is good for all. And the inverse is true, unfortunately, as well. Mm-hmm. But Michele, you introduced a training and a framework to your field called the 3 Laws of Performance. And as you've noted, that's had a huge impact on your field. And you've discussed some of the reasons why you wanted to introduce this to the field. And there was one especially that I found really interesting. And taking kind of a step back, obviously throughout direct selling's history, one of the main value propositions has been the ability to earn additional income, outside of a traditional kind of 9 to 5. And you found in talking to your sales force that some of the sales force, which obviously is predominantly women, had a really difficult time admitting that that was one of their primary motivators or drivers for joining a direct selling brand. I found this really, really interesting. Can you expand on this a little bit and share what some of the other limiting beliefs that you've seen that hold individuals back from success in direct selling?
Yeah. So, we really focused our training on confidence. Like we were talking about confidence and mindset and abundant mindset and, all those things in business that, Tony Robbins talks about and everyone, around him. And we were like, okay, we're elevating confidence, but we're not seeing the behavior shift as much as we want to be. What is it? And for me, I had just like this epiphany where I realized that it was that the way women feel about money is a huge, huge limiting factor in their earning potential, in their potential to unlock more confidence. I talk about it as being like a rope swing. A rope ladder. It's like one side is up, the other side is down, and you have to keep balance. You have to actually, as you go up, you've got to actually address both sides, the confidence side and how you feel about money. And so I started surveying our field about this. And it was fascinating to me how, a third of our sales field, I would call money avoiders, and a third of our sales field are money liars. Like they're just not honest about where they are financially in their life and where they want to go. And so when you ask a woman, why are you joining this company? Like, what's your why? The people who actually say, because I want to be rich, I want to make a ton of money, are often your highest performers. And they have really strong confidence, right? So then you have, for us, that's like 2% of our sales field. So it's like, okay, where's the other 98 on this? And they'll say things like, well, I just want to help people. I want to, it's all about like helping and, you know, to an extent that's great. But at the same time, like it is a business, right? So what are we talking about? Because then what happens is if they're not making enough money, they don't do it, even though they might be helping a lot of people. And what people have to realize is that one begets the other, right? As you're helping people, you should be making more money. If the company has a strong foundation, that's what should happen. But once we start getting real about money, it will change things. And what's interesting for me is that survey was done pre-pandemic. And now when I ask teams, when I go on Zooms and I ask, all right, tell me what you're here for. What are we doing? Like, I want to train I want to do the training around what you want. They're all like, more money, more money, more money. Now they all talk money. And I'm like, good. Okay. Because now I can talk to you about the comp plan in a different way. Now I can talk to you about the benefits of compounding the comp plan. Like now they're listening to that, you know? And the thing I always say to them is, I can't take it when a woman tells me, I'm just not good at math. Like, I don't know, money scares me. I'm not good at math. I'm like, girl, boss up. Like, what are you talking about? And by the way, if I see you in TJ Maxx and I ask you, like, what's the total of the stuff in your cart and how much have you saved on everything in your cart? Like, you can tell me that. Like, you're doing mental math in addition and percentages without even realize you're doing it. So, like, we are good at math. We are good at strategizing around finances, and we need to start accepting that and like lean into it.
That is incredible that there's such a strong correlation between admitting, which I'm sure obviously subconsciously it's at least probably the primary motivator, but admitting that it's the primary motivator and actual success in the business is an outcome. That is fascinating. I would have guessed that there was many more people that kind of admit that that is their primary motivator for driving. So,
and it's very interesting, just to add to this, is like, if you go on social media over the last 5 years, if people are talking about their confidence level and how they want to be more confident, everyone's like, you go, girl, you've got this, right? Like no one was really talking about confidence 10 years ago, but now they are. You know, it's on Lululemon shopping bags and everybody's on like the confidence train. But if a woman goes out on Facebook and is like, I want to be incredibly rich, so I want you to support my business because my goal is to be crazy rich. Like, it's like crickets, like there's no replies to that. And I've watched this happen on people's social media where like women don't know how to support that. Why? They're not totally sure. Like, can they like her? Can they not like her? How are they supposed to feel about a woman who says, I want to be really, really successful and wealthy? Now, a man says that, it's much more normalized, right? So it's been really interesting to sort of study this with my sales field.
Yeah, that is absolutely fascinating. And I'm glad that you've seen a shift over the last couple of years to where people are definitely focusing more and jumping in more on that. I think that's really important as well. So tell me a little bit about the impact. So after introducing this, you know, seeing these limiting beliefs, these things holding some of the field back from ultimately their potential and their success, what was the impact you've seen in the field and the results in the business by introducing this training around this framework?
You know, like most trainings, we did it basically to try to get people out of the pandemic. And it depended on where they were and how they heard it. So it's not a one and done, it's a constant. But where it really had the biggest impact, I think, was our executive team. We did it many years ago with them, and we had them really put on a piece of paper all the things that they thought were happening at LimeLife. Like, what did it feel like to be here? You know, our executive sales leaders. And they started giving things, and Gary, who did the training with Sarah's team, was like, okay, you're not getting dirty enough. You're not getting honest enough. And then like after 15 minutes, it was like blasting this paper, which was good. Because then we could stand in where we were. Like, where are we? What's the experience? And then from there, we were able to move forward on what is our future of LimeLife? What do we want it to look like? You know, when we come back to this exercise of what is LimeLife and we start putting it on paper, what should it feel like for you? And so recently I just met with the executives, again, the emerging executives, and I asked them, like, describe LimeLife to me. And it was a much different space. And I think part of that comes from, we were young, we had operational problems galore, we had, drama like extreme, and now we don't have those things. So they're able to see the experience differently, which I think is super important. But we had to do it again post-pandemic because they were holding on to a lot from, really, honestly, I keep describing it as the trauma of the pandemic, specifically for women and more specifically for mothers. And they need to get rid of that to redefine a new future for themselves. They lost their future vision in the pandemic, and now they actually have to go back to basics and redo the work. And that's what the 3 laws does.
If you're interested in learning more about the laws of performance training, we invite you to join us next week at the DSU Spring in-person event on Wednesday, April 19th and Thursday, April 20th in Frisco, Texas. Dawn and Gary, the trainers from LimeLife, will be at DSU giving an executive-focused overview of the laws of performance. Register today for free at dsu2023.com to join 500 of your executive peers and to learn from 40 of today's top executive leaders and subject matter experts. Now, a word from our sponsor. DSN is honored to be supported by industry suppliers that partner with companies across the channel to help enhance, streamline, and grow their businesses. This episode is sponsored by Exego. Exego was started by a team of experts that shared a single vision: to overturn the archaic, restrictive model of housing data and create an entirely new kind of platform from the ground up. From your first dollar to your billionth and beyond, Exego's platform scales in lockstep with your global growth, aspirations, and vision. With clients in 120 countries, supporting 40 currencies and 30 languages, plus over 200 open APIs and SDKs, they empower an existing tech team to control their own best-in-class solution vision. To connect and learn more, visit exego.com. That is EXIGO.com. Now let's get back to the interview with Michele Gay and Sarah Shadonix.
Sarah, we did it recently with her team, and I'd be interested to hear if she's got any.
Yeah, Sarah, you received an invite to come to experience one of these trainings. And I'm curious what you experienced and ultimately what led you to, inviting them to come to Scout and Cellar. And so essentially trainers from another company coming to another direct selling company, getting back to that collaboration to train on these 3 laws. Can you share what you experienced that ultimately led you to bring them to Scout and Cellar?
Yeah, well, so, apparently that's not done very often, Wayne, and Michele and I don't care about that. So I heard Michele speak about the training at DSU last spring. I followed up with her about it, and I was like, hey, what's this thing you talked about? It sounds really cool. And so then she sent me the link for her leadership training that she did, and it shared the whole training with me that she did for their field over the summer at their conference. So she let me and my whole team have access to and watch the whole training, just like gave it to us all with the slides, the whole content, everything. And I don't know that that's like normal either, but she just like gave it to us all. And sometimes when people give you like a link to something and you're kind of like, yeah, sure, I'll check it out. I watched the whole thing. I think it was like 6 or 8 hours, Michele. I watched the whole thing. And was blown away by not only how interesting and relevant it was, but also how applicable and relevant it would be for not only our field, but also our employees. And so I think I sent her an email, I don't know, Michele, was it like 6 weeks before our leadership conference?
Yeah.
Q1 of this year. And I was like, hey, wouldn't it be fun if you guys came and trained on that to our leaders? And she wrote back, Wayne, within like an hour, and was like, sure, when is it?
That's great.
I love flying to Dallas.
This is the type of person that she is and the type of collaboration that she supports. It was awesome. And so then we talk and we start ideating with she and her team. And so she's like, Gary and I will come and train your team. And then 2 weeks before the event, she sends me another email. She says, hey, I've been talking about this with my executive team, and they're all really recommending that we also bring Dawn to train. Is that okay? And I'm like, is that okay? Of course. Please.
Well, it was very funny because I have some good friends who are leaders in LimeLife, and they're like, you're okay, but Dawn's amazing. And I was like, got it. All right. Message received. But I did want to go down there, and it was really important for me to do this and just tell her executive sales field at the start of this training that they have a gold mine in Scout and Cellar. I mean, I think this brand is going, it's $1 billion brand. There's no doubt in my mind that it's $1 billion brand. It's changing so much about the wine industry, the direct sales industry. And I told them, I'm like, run. I don't know what you're doing. Don't shuffle, don't walk. Like, you need to run because you are on top of the biggest wave in direct sales. And that's how I feel about Scout and Cellar. Like, I just absolutely love this, but I wanted them to know it because it's very important that they didn't see the training and think that they should go now look over at LimeLife. That wasn't the point of that. I did not want any of their leaders to join LimeLife. I want them completely and solely focused on the opportunity that they have in front of them. And this is how it works when you actually want people to win, right? Like, I do not poach leaders from other teams. I don't, like other brands. I 9 times out of 10, when I have a conversation with someone who wants to come over to LimeLife, I'm like, you're just in a season right now. You need to go back to what you did and what you built, stop burning it to the ground and actually do the work. Like 9 times out of 10, it's like boredom. They want something different. It's very rare that they're telling me, I just don't trust the company, the products, whatever. So I think it's really important because I don't like how people hop so much in this industry. It's bad for women personally, and it's bad for the channel.
Agreed. Yep. Agreed. Yeah. Michelle's opening was compelling. And then the training in and of itself was incredibly compelling for our leaders that were there, as well as our employees. And the premise of the training, I think is essentially that there is no reality. There's only our perception of reality. And we all act based on our perception of reality. That's it in a nutshell. And so as long as we can recognize that we're all living out because of our own perception of reality, then we can kind of move forward with that understanding. I mean, that's a very simple version of it.
And it's also like, if your home office, if your employees who work at the home office do not see a bright future for your brand, because they're stuck in the minutia, we're all working in the factory, and then you have to know that outside these things are working. And it's very important that the employees see the future of the company, where it's going, while they're working on the day-to-day details, because how they speak to the sales field, how they speak to each other will create an experience for the sales field where they either believe in the future of the company or they don't. One of the things I found fascinating is in the first 4 years when we were growing like insane, it's when we had the most problems. So I was constantly on Facebook Live, like literally every day, multiple times a day. Okay, guys, we're working through that problem, but I'm promising you this is temporary, and what we're going to be building is worth it. And what I realized when we stopped having problems is I stopped going in. And what that meant was they stopped hearing my future-based declarations for the brand. They were absent of it. And in the absence of it, they actually didn't know whether I still believed in the brand, if we were doing well, were we not doing well. And so it's super important. So as Sarah said, your perception of reality is a big piece of it. And then the language you speak needs to be future-based. You need to get them to understand where you're going and why you 100% believe in the future of your brand. And if everyone on your team doesn't feel that way, then you have to make sure that the team understands that and believes in it.
I think that's really powerful. So have you brought the training internally to employees as well?
We have never done that, if you can believe that. But we actually practice it.
Sure. More organically.
More organically in our staff meetings. It's really important that we go through the motions with them on that. And we're telling them this is where we are and this is where we're going. And everything you do is contributing to that future. It's really important that they understand that.
Yep. And we invited employees to come to the training that Michelle's team put on. So we had not only field leaders, but also quite a handful of employees that attended Wayne. So they got the benefit of that training to walk through it, and it was really impactful for them as well.
That's great. And obviously, I mean, you're the ones that bring the training back to your companies and organizations, and it informs how you lead, how you speak, how you think. And so obviously that is going to cascade down throughout the organization. So I'd love to dig in a little bit more on the specifics of the training. Again, Michele, this was so well received. I think it was the highest rated of all the presentations for that DSU. And I'd love to know, or have you help take us through kind of these three principles a little bit, just a little bit more of an overview to dig deeper on these three principles of the framework.
Yeah.
Do you want me to kind of read through, or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. The first is how people perform correlates to how situations occur to them.
Yeah. So, if you don't think you have a very bright future, or to go back to the conversation earlier, if you don't think you're worthy of making a lot of money, that's how you're going to perform. And it's literally exactly goes back to the money talk. When I have a woman come in and she tells me that she wants to be super rich doing LimeLife, I know she's going to be on the leaderboard, like immediately, right? So how we perform correlates to, what we believe is possible for ourselves. And so vision boarding, getting your team to think bigger. There's an amazing, amazing book by Martha Beck, Finding Your North Star. And if anyone needs to go through the motions of trying to figure out how to untether themselves to reality, that's a great way to do it. And I was going through this exercise with women who are not in direct sales. It was just like a women's group that I was talking to. And I had them actually envision, what would be your perfect life? Forget about money, forget about anything. What's your perfect life? Or people's opinions. And I asked the first woman to share, and she goes, well, there's my private jet is waiting for me at the local airport, and, at a moment's notice. And all the women just started cracking up. And I was like, okay, hold on one second. If this was a group of men and I asked you that, and the first man said that, not one man would laugh in this room. And I was like, every single one of us needs to sort of get real with what's possible for us. All it matters is how hard are you willing to work for it? Everything is possible. Just how hard and how bright is your passion going to be during the rough times, every day, staying consistent. And so, that piece of the three laws of performance is super important, and you can unpack it for days and days and days and days. So how we perform is based on, what we think is possible. So getting your sales field to really think big is huge. And then the second law of performance.
How situations occur arises in language.
Yeah. So there is, in the book, they do a really good job of transitioning to how you talk, and how that language is sort of like embedded in all of your actions. So again, if you don't think you're worthy of money, that's how you're going to speak. And that's how you're going to speak to your network. That's how you're going to speak to your customers. It's how you're going to speak to your prospects. If your communication is in this very bland, low level, that's who you're going to be. So your communication, you need to be conscious of that. And there's a whole section in this where they talk about rackets, which is you hold these beliefs, they're persistent patterns that you have, and they're based on something that happened in your experience prior to this. And if you hold on to that racket, it's always going to keep you down like a weight on your ankle. And then the third law of performance.
Future-based language transforms how situations occur to people.
So if you start to get someone to actually believe in themselves, and, if you look at the work that was done by Carol Dweck, who came up with the whole idea of abundant mindset versus fixed mindset. Someone with an abundant mindset, a growth mindset, is actually very, very much embedded in future-based language as they move forward. And they actually can transform an entire household because of the way that they communicate in future-based language. Like, one day, mom, I'm going to buy you a house. One day, mom, we're going to live on the nicest road. One day, mom, that type of language is transformative for people. And they start to take the actions and operate in that new realm. It's manifesting, it's vision boarding, it's all the same stuff. And it's every training you've ever heard of in three specific laws.
I love that. I can see the incredible impact that something like that can have. If you believe you can't or believe you can, you're going to be right.
You're right.
You're ultimately going to end up succeeding or not. So I think that's super powerful.
And the same thing with like sit with winners. The conversation's different, right? Like that whole thing. I mean, it goes on and on. Every motivational quote you've ever seen makes sense in the context of these three laws.
Oh, absolutely. I love how it's taken something so powerful and complex and really been able to distill it down into something more kind of bite-sized and manageable. And I can see how people can easily kind of attack these and start implementing these. Sarah, I'm curious about the impact that this training had. First, I'd love to talk about any comments from the field on having executives from one company come and do training at their company, or were they totally fine with it? But then I'd love to know more of the impact that it's had on your field and the business as a whole.
Some of the comments I got day of training were, this is the best professional training I've ever attended. These guys are amazing. It's unbelievable that we partnered with another company to do this. I can't believe we did this. This training is changing my life. And this is from Wayne, not only our field leaders, but also employees. And so really great sound bites day of event and even following. So, the team, Don and Gary, gave the attendees kind of some words to say following during the training, like, you got to back the play. Like, this is one of the big things they said, like, no matter what, always assume positive intent, that the winery team, Scout and Cellar team is working on your behalf to create opportunity and live out the core values and like make things better for you. It's your job as field leaders to back the play, even if you don't know what the play is, but you got to back the play. And I hear that, I see it on social media, even today. This is, training was 3 months ago. And so that's one of the things. It's great for field leaders to really absorb and live that out loud, because a lot of times, field leaders are out, they don't know all the things that are going on in the home office. Like, they don't. And it's their job to just assume positive intent and go out and lead, even when they don't know what's going on, and back the play. And they're doing that. And that's one of the biggest takeaways that I've seen in terms of just creating and building, reinforcing the bonds of trust that have to exist between field leaders and the home office. That's so essential in direct sales and in any business. I mean, trust is so essential. And so that was one of the really fun takeaways and really powerful takeaways from that training, among others. I mean, Gary and Don did such a great job of empowering and creating opportunity and space for our leaders to, like, in the same way that Michele said, like, we grew really fast in our first few years and messed up so many things operationally, had lots of opportunities to do things not well, and did seize those opportunities, Wayne, and have improved along the way. And so our field had a lot of like stuff to like move past, like, oh, you shipped my order wrong 3 years ago, this, that, and we did all those things. This training created space for, Michele alluded to, these rackets to be spoken out and moved past. And that was really, really powerful. It's not only at the company level, but also on the personal level. Like, what are personal rackets that I have that are my limiting beliefs that are impeding my ability to go out and get what I want, which is more money, more opportunity. And so those were really powerful kind of impacts to our consultants and our employees on an individual basis. And the impact to the business has been significant. And we're launching this new program today. We have really great leading indicators in our business in terms of joins and activity over the last couple of months. And so it's been good.
That's great. Michele, I'm curious, the impact, you've touched on it a little bit, but have you seen the impact more at a personal level? Has it impacted the business as well? Have you been able to go back with those surveys and ask, people's perception, and have you seen those things shift? What are some of the key changes that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, the data is definitely showing that. I mean, and trust, as Sarah alluded to, what this is all building between you and the sales field is future trust. You and your employees is future trust, backing the play. Like, you're holding on to these rackets, and you're going to perceive situations based on how many rackets you're holding. So if your racket is that, LimeLife has this operational problem, like, let's say shipping, like everything ships wrong. You're literally looking for every single package that goes out wrong. And there's always going to be a percentage of packages go out wrong, right? So It's really important that, people understand their rackets that they have, clear them. And I always say, like, women communicate in a very interesting way. It's like, we'll be mad about something and we will, instead of just letting it go, which is option A, or B, asking the person to clear it with them, we'll choose C, which is to hold on to it, be really angry about it, talk to other people about it, and never address the problem and hold it like a blanket around us, And so I'm like, in this sales field, we do not choose let it go completely or talk to the person. We don't choose C. C is what really truly ruins a sales field. And C is what we see happen when you don't go through the 3 laws of performance and really address what was my part in this moment in time, what was their part in this moment in time, and how can we work in partnership to trust each other moving forward.
I think that's really powerful. I was about to admit that I might have been guilty of C in times in the past, but I'll just pretend that I didn't. But no, that's given me a lot to think about as well. So both of you have been incredible champions for this approach and framework and philosophy, and in distributing it throughout your organization. I'm curious, are there any specific examples of how it has impacted or changed the way that you have led? Sarah, can we start with you?
I think that the concept of manifestation of what you believe is going to happen, is a powerful thing, and so making sure that I'm manifesting the right things, both for my inner circle and my outer circle in our field, is critical for success of not only the company but also the day to day. Is critical. So, even as something as simple as I've parked in my parking spot here at the office. I don't really have a parking spot. I just have a favorite spot. And setting my mind to what's on tap for today and what's the energy and results that I want to manifest before I walk up the 7 flights of stairs to my office. That simple step is a change in routine that came about because of this training. And I think that it has, and it will continue to result in positive impact around the organization.
Mm. Yeah.
That's powerful. Michele?
Yeah, I think, like all direct sales brands, I couldn't understand how we were all vibing on the same frequency in terms of results. I couldn't understand, how is it that we're all having this amazing 2020, and then for the most part, people started to see the decline in the middle of 2021, and then 2022 was really rough for people. How is this? What is this? This cannot be so prevalent in this channel without there being some sort of human element aspect to it, right? So, and I do think that not being face to face with our sales field, where I can hug them and hold them and look them in the eye and tell them how amazing they are, was a real setback for us, because that's a big part of who we are. But I had to get real with myself too. I had to figure out what were my rackets, and I had a few. When you grow as fast as we did, when you break 100 million in sales in your first 4 years, and you're literally working yourself to the bone, right? Our results kind of went so fast, they outran what I thought was possible. I didn't think we would have that many people and that many sales. I didn't. It was like this freight train. And so I stopped speaking in the language of what I thought was next, because my mindset had to catch up to what was possible. When we hit over 100 million in sales, it wasn't even a thing we were monitoring. I literally looked up from my desk and I said to Madison, who's the co-founder with me, my niece, I was like, I think we just broke 100 million in sales this year. Is that possible? Someone should probably check that. And then we were like, oh God, we probably have to do some Instagram posts. We were so, our head was so stuck in the weeds. And so I think as a leader, if you don't have the next thing where's that next level you're going to? What is the next thing that you honestly believe in and you've mapped out the strategy for and made it possible, tangibly possible for them? You're never going to pull your sales field up. And so I had to get real with myself about how I was not performing as a leader that was pulling them upward into the next level for LimeLife. We're there now, and we're starting to see the results build on that.
I love that. I think we're going to leave it there for today. I want to thank you both for sharing these incredible insights, and especially for the example that you both have been for leadership, for collaboration, and for really putting others first. And just want to thank you both for that. I'm excited to learn more about this. Any of the listeners will be able to learn more from the Chief Development Officer and Regional Director from LimeLife. They'll be speaking at DSU. So make sure you're there, and there's still time to get a flight and get tickets. Thank you both, Michele and Sarah. And Sarah, good luck with the launch today.
Thank you so much, Wayne.
Thanks, Wayne. Good luck, Sarah. I'll be there taking the quiz. I got to know what one I got to do.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in. We invite you to subscribe so that you are the first to know when new episodes are available. And a reminder to register today at dsu2023.com to join 500 of your peers in person next week at the Spring DSU event, April 19th and 20th in Frisco, Texas. Registration is free for all active corporate direct selling executives. We hope to see you there. Thank you for listening and supporting DSN and the Direct Approach podcast.